Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that, honestly, most of us thought was ancient history, measles. It's a disease that the United States declared eliminated, gone, finished. But it's back. And its return tells us a whole lot about how fragile our public health can be. To really get why, we have to start with one single startling number.
Look at that, 12 to 18. That number is the whole reason we're talking about this today. It's how many people just one person with measles can infect if they walk into a room of people who aren't vaccinated. It is, and I'm not exaggerating here, one of the most contagious viruses we know of. It just hangs in the air and is incredibly good at finding new people to infect.
So, yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth did we get here? How did a disease that was officially kicked out of the US way back in the year 2000 manage to stage such a massive comeback? Okay, let's dig in. First thing we gotta do is zoom out, because this is not just a US problem. Oh no, this is a global thing. It's an alarming resurgence happening all over the planet. And in our super connected world, a virus like measles doesn't care about borders. And the numbers, they're pretty grim. I mean, look at this. Globally, cases are just skyrocketing. And right here in the US, the jump is staggering. Over 1,000 cases in just the first 5 months of 2025. That's already 4 times the total for all of last year. And you know, health officials are pretty sure the real number of infections is actually much, much higher. Okay, so we've seen the scale of the problem. But what does getting measles actually, feel like? What does it do to you? A lot of us have this picture of it being just a childhood rash, but it is so much more than that. It's a full-body infection that gets into almost everything. Let's walk through the timeline. So after you're exposed, the virus just kind of hangs out and multiplies for about 10 to 14 days. But here's the really sneaky part. You actually become contagious and start spreading it 4 whole days before that classic measles rash even shows up. Think about that. You could be spreading the virus for almost half a week, and nobody, not even you, knows you're sick. And the risk of serious problems? That can stick around for a month or even more after the rash finally appears. So what are the classic signs? Well, doctors have a little nickname for them, the 3 C's. First, you get a nasty cough. Then comes coryza, which is really just a fancy medical term for a super runny nose. And finally, conjunctivitis, those red, watery, itchy eyes. All that is followed by a really high fever. And only then does that famous red rash finally show up, usually starting on your face and then spreading all the way down your body. But listen, for about 30% of people who get measles, it's not just a fever and a rash. The complications are common and they are serious. We're talking about severe diarrhea, nasty ear infections that can actually lead to permanent deafness, and pneumonia. Pneumonia is the #1 reason people, especially little kids, end up in the hospital with measles, and it can be deadly. But believe it or not, the scariest part of measles might not even be the rash or the fever or the pneumonia. There is this hidden danger that sticks around long after you feel better. It's a bizarre phenomenon that scientists have a name for: immune amnesia. Immune amnesia. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, and it's every bit as serious as it sounds. What happens is the measles virus literally attacks and destroys the memory cells in your immune system. These are the crucial cells that remember how to fight off all the germs you've ever encountered. So, in effect, measles hits a factory reset button on your immune system's memory. It just wipes the slate clean. And the fallout from this is huge. For months, sometimes even for years, after you've recovered from measles, your body is wide open to all sorts of other infections. It has to completely relearn how to fight off everything it already knew how to beat: the flu, strep throat, you name it. It's like you're a baby again, immunologically speaking. So if this disease is so awful, why is it back? It makes no sense, right? Well, to answer that, we have to zoom back out again, away from a single person's body, and look at the whole community to see what's happening to our collective defenses. The answer really comes down to this idea called herd immunity. The best way to think about it is like a community shield. When enough people in a population are immune, the virus just can't find anyone to infect. It tries to spread, but it just keeps hitting these walls of immunity. And this invisible shield protects everyone, especially the people who can't get vaccinated, like babies who are too young or people with weak immune systems. But here's the catch. Because measles is so ridiculously contagious, that community shield has to be incredibly strong, like ironclad.
To keep measles boxed out, you need more than 95% of the entire population to be immune. That is a really, really high bar to clear.
And unfortunately, lately, we've seen some pretty big gaps forming in that shield. The pandemic really messed up routine vaccination schedules all over the world, and coverage rates dropped to the lowest they've been in more than a decade. And on top of that, sources point to growing vaccine hesitancy as another factor chipping away at that protection. And with a virus this contagious, even tiny pockets of unvaccinated people can act like dry kindling for a huge wildfire of an outbreak.
Okay, I know this all sounds pretty dire, but the story is not over. And the good news is, this is a solvable problem. We actually have incredibly effective, time-tested tools to fight back. We have the shield. We just have to use it.
Now, it is absolutely critical to understand the difference between prevention and treatment. The measles vaccine is for prevention. You get it before you're ever sick, and it gives you long-term immunity. Vitamin A, on the other hand, is a treatment. It's given to someone after they're already sick. It can help reduce the complications, but let's be super clear. It does not prevent you from getting measles. It is not, in any way, a substitute for the vaccine.
And building that shield is really straightforward. The standard schedule in the US is simple. Kids get their first dose between 12 and 15 months old, and then a second dose, a booster, between ages 4 and 6. That's it. 2 shots, and you've got incredibly effective, long-lasting protection.
And that really brings us to this powerful line from a recent article in the New England Journal of Medicine. They put it perfectly. The primary cause of the resurgence in measles cases is failure to vaccinate, not failure of the vaccine. The tool works. It works incredibly well. The problem isn't the shield, it's the gaps we're leaving in it.
So we end right back where we started, but hopefully with a new understanding. We know how this virus works, we know how dangerous it is, and we know we have the tools to stop it in its tracks. We can absolutely make measles a forgotten threat all over again. The only real question left is, will we?